I sat there just staring at the screen, not moving. My coffee had gone completely cold, and my hands were shaking, but not from shock. No, it was the kind of tremble that comes when something you feared all along finally gets confirmed. There she was, my sister, glowing in white lace, roses everywhere, laughter frozen in time. Her head was tilted back while her new husband kissed her cheek like it was straight out of a fairy tale. Everyone we'd ever known was in that photo. Everyone, except me. I wasn't invited. Not to the happiest day of her life. Not even a mention. And the worst part? I wasn't even surprised. I'm Rachel, I'm 36, and at this point in life, I've learned that silence can scream louder than any words ever could. I used to be her maid of honor, at least in every dream we had growing up. But then she went and married the guy who made high school hell for me, and it's like I vanished from her world. We used to dream up our weddings together, you know? We'd throw pillowcases over our heads and spin around barefoot in the backyard, giggling about how we'd share a venue if we ever got married on the same day. I was 2 years older, but she always burned a little brighter, and I never minded being the quiet one in her shadow. When we were 10 and 12, we even recorded this goofy cassette tape. Our voices were all squeaky and full of hope. We promised, swore up and down, that no guy would ever come between us. That we'd walk each other down the aisle. Forever sisters. Forever best friends. And I think what hurts the most is when childhood promises break, because back then, we actually meant every word. It didn't fall apart all at once. It wasn't some dramatic blow-up. No, it was more like the slow, creeping rot that started with a boy, Derek. He transferred into our school junior year. The kind of guy with perfect hair, fake charm, and this cocky way of getting what he wanted. He flirted with teachers, cheated on tests, and made my life a nightmare. He started a rumor that I had some kind of thing for one of the gym teachers. Said I got caught doing stuff in the locker room, completely false, by the way. But people believed it. My reputation tanked, and I spent months dodging side eyes and whispers. I didn't even go to prom because I couldn't take it. When I found out Derek was the one behind it, I called him out. You know what he said? He laughed and told me it was just a joke. Said I should have taken it as a compliment. That smug look on his face, I never forgot it. So imagine how it felt when, 2 years later, my sister started dating him. Yeah, 2 years. I figured it had to be some messed up coincidence, but it wasn't. I still remember the first time I tried to talk to her about it. We were having lunch, just the two of us. She looked so happy, practically glowing. And me, being the overly cautious big sister, said, "Hey, just be careful with Derek. He's not really who you think he is." She put her fork down real slow, looked me dead in the eye, and said, "You've always hated every guy I liked. Just admit it. You're jealous." That word, jealous, hit me like a slap. She didn't just say it. She meant it. And after that, I didn't push. I didn't dig. Because when someone you love chooses not to believe you, no amount of proof is ever going to change their mind. But it didn't stop there. One summer night at a family dinner, Derek was sitting at the head of the table like some golden boy. I tried to bring up the past, gently, casually. Something like, funny how life works. The guy who wrecked my junior year is now sharing our bread basket. My dad's face changed in an instant. Are you seriously bringing that up now? Let it go. My sister? She didn't even blink. Just kept slicing her steak. My mom shot me that tight little smile that always meant, please don't make a scene. I cried in my car that night. Not because of what they said, but because it was clear. They just didn't care. A week later, I stopped by my parents' house to grab a box of my old books. I wasn't expecting anything, but as I walked in, I heard voices from the kitchen. I froze just outside the doorway and listened. My mother was whispering to my father, "If we don't, she'll ruin the whole wedding. It's either her or the ceremony." That's what I overheard. And just like that, I knew. They'd made their decision. I wasn't even worth pretending for anymore. A few days later, the invitation showed up. Well, not for me. It was addressed to them. My parents acted like everything was perfectly normal, like they didn't just cut their oldest daughter out of the biggest day in her sister's life. They marveled at the gold trim, giggled about the catering options. I asked, quietly, if there might have been another envelope. One with my name on it. They just looked at me. Hours passed, and then a message popped up from my sister. Just one line, "I just want peace at my wedding. Please understand." No call. No explanation. No sorry. Just that. A sentence that might as well have said, "You're not wanted." I didn't respond. What was left to say? When your own family chooses silence instead of standing beside you, when your sister marries the boy who made your teenage years a nightmare, then takes his side like you never mattered at all, you stop begging for understanding. You stop trying to prove anything. Instead, you start figuring out what to do with the emptiness they left you. Sitting there, staring at that perfect wedding photo, I realized something. She thought she'd erased me. But absence? Sometimes it echoes louder than presence. And I was ready to prove that. Some people send crystal vases. Some bring toasts and bubbly flutes. Me? I sent silence. Wrapped in ribbon, sealed with memories. If I wasn't going to be at that wedding, I'd still show up, not as a guest, not as a sister, but as a mirror. It all started with a shoebox. I hadn't opened it in years. It had been tucked away in the back of my closet like a tiny tomb, full of pieces of me I didn't want to feel anymore. When I finally opened it, the smell hit first: dust, old paper, that bittersweet scent of childhood. The first thing I pulled out was a bracelet. Faded pink and purple thread, the silver charm cracked clean down the middle. We made them during a summer blackout. Hers was tied so tight around my wrist I had to cut it off half a year later. We'd promised to wear them to each other's weddings. She forgot. I didn't. Next came a photo, creased, a little stained. The three of us, her, me, and Derek. Only I was barely visible. His arms stretched out across the frame, practically blocking my face. I used to hate that picture. Now, it felt like the perfect symbol. Then I found the cassette. Our voices were high-pitched, sugary, full of dreams. We'll always pick each other first. No dumb boy will ever come between us. If you get married first, I'll still be your maid of honor. I played it 3 times. No tears. No screaming. Just me, listening like I was trying to remember what it felt like to be believed again. That's when I knew exactly what I had to do. She left me out of her day. So I sent her something that would remind her exactly who she'd left behind. Not out of spite. Not for revenge. I just couldn't carry this anymore. It had never been mine to hold. I bought a plain white box. No fancy branding, no card. Just simple, clean. Inside, I placed the bracelet, still broken, still real. The photo, trimmed a bit so Liam's arm filled most of the frame. The cassette, with a note scrawled on the label. Press play before reading. And finally, the letter .8 handwritten pages. No edits. No holding back. I titled it, "Before You Say I Do." I started gently, almost like a lullaby. I used to think being your sister was the best part of me. You were the song, and I was the quiet background harmony. I still remember how your laugh echoed through the yard when we danced in the rain. Then I flipped the page. But somewhere along the way, you stopped hearing me. Or maybe, you just didn't want to anymore. I told her everything, things she already knew but never acknowledged. About how Liam twisted the truth in high school. How those rumors stained the way teachers looked at me. How I missed my own senior prom because of it. I reminded her of the night I told her the truth. Of how she looked me straight in the eye and called me jealous. I didn't come at her with rage. I used memories. The kind that sting a little more because they're laced with love. Because guilt tends to echo louder when it's wrapped in kindness. Then I gave her the truth she never saw coming. 2 years back, during a wine-fueled girls' night, my old college roommate pulled me aside. She was tipsy, loose-tongued, and raw in a way only Chardonnay can make you. And she told me Derek had tried to sleep with her. More than once. She even showed me the messages. One of them? Sent the same week my sister got engaged. I never told her. Not because I wanted to protect him, but because deep down, I knew she'd just twist herself into knots trying to protect him from the truth. I had to pause while writing that part. Not because I didn't know what to say, my hands were shaking. The next lines, though, they came from somewhere deeper than just hurt. You always said I was the one who ruined things. Stirred up drama. Caused trouble. But the truth is, all I ever wanted was for you to look at me the way you used to before he taught you how to doubt me. You married the guy who erased me, and then you did the same. But I didn't end it in anger. Because this wasn't about revenge. It was about letting go. The last words were quiet, honest. I loved you enough to stay silent, maybe too long. This is me finally speaking. I folded the letter, placed it inside the box, and sealed it shut. No return address. Just a shipping label that said, "To the bride." That night, I didn't sleep. I sat by the window while the rain hit the glass. And no, it wasn't romantic or poetic. It was cold and miserable. But in that stillness, something inside me came loose. Like a thread that had been pulled too tight for too long finally gave way. I didn't know how she'd react. And honestly, I didn't really care. Because what I sent wasn't a threat. It wasn't some angry warning. It was the truth. And when you send someone the truth, you don't go chasing after it. You just wait. For the echo. I told myself I wouldn't look. Wouldn't search. Wouldn't type her name into the search bar like some kind of masochist. But the moment I opened Instagram, there it was. A flood of tags. Photo after photo. All smiles and sunlight and sepia-tone joy. My sister's wedding. She looked stunning. Radiant, really. The kind of glow that doesn't just belong to the bride, but to every woman who thinks she's stepping into forever. I didn't cry. I just watched. Face calm. Breath even. But my fingers? They trembled against the screen. One clip showed them cutting the cake. Another, her and our dad, dancing slow under twinkle lights. And then there was Liam, giving a toast, smiling that same smug smile he wore when he wrecked my life. I set the phone down and shut my eyes. She had it all, the dress, the crowd, the applause. But I had something too. I had the truth, and it was already on its way. It arrived sometime after the last toast, maybe between speeches and slow dances. Right in the middle of her perfect evening. The courier blended in like any other staffer, pressed shirt, clipboard, blank expression. The box was plain. No note, no frills. Just a simple white package with a label. To the bride, her maid of honor handed it to her with a grin, probably thinking it was from a distant cousin or some long-lost friend. She opened it slowly, carefully. The bracelet was on top. She stopped cold. I imagine her fingers freezing mid-motion as she stared at that broken silver charm, the one she tied on my wrist 15 years ago. Derek leaned in, squinting. "What is that?" She didn't answer. Just kept going. Next came the cassette. She blinked. My handwriting stood out on the label. Play before reading. Her lips parted, breath catching in her throat. But she didn't play it. She set it down with shaking hands and pulled out the next thing, a folded page that it was a printed copy of The Rumor, the one Liam spread back in high school. Some guests noticed. Most didn't. But when she reached the final item, the letter marked in bold black ink. "Before you say I do," the whole room shifted. She opened it and started to read. At first, it was just her. Just silence. Her voice was low, steady, like she was trying not to crack while reading words I'd written from the middle of my own storm. "I used to think being your sister was the best part of me." You could hear the room shift. Conversations cut off mid-sentence. The DJ stopped the music. All eyes on her, she kept reading, but somewhere along the way, you stopped hearing me. Or maybe, you just stopped wanting to. Her voice wavered. Her hands started to tremble. Then she hit the next part. 2 years ago, my college roommate pulled me aside. She told me Derek tried to sleep with her the same week you got engaged. You could hear the gasp ripple across the room. Somewhere, a glass shattered. The whole vibe turned razor sharp. Derek's face twisted, confused at first, then full-on panic. "That's a lie," he snapped, grabbing for the letter. "She's lying. This is just her being bitter again." But it was too late. People had heard. And worse, they believed it. The silence that followed? It was deafening. Way louder than any screaming ever could have been. My sister stood there holding that letter like it was burning her from the inside out. And then the twist no one saw coming because it didn't come from me. A phone went up. Then another. Someone had recorded the whole thing, from the moment the box arrived to the exact second her world cracked open. A bridesmaid leaned over and whispered, "It's already online." And just like that, it spread within hours. The clip hit TikTok, then Twitter, then YouTube. Bride reads letter from estranged sister. Groom's affair exposed mid-reception. The internet did what it does. OMG, this is like a movie. Good for her sister. Queen behavior. This is why you don't ignore red flags. Liam looks like he saw a ghost. Justice. Served. Cold. What was supposed to be a picture-perfect wedding turned into a cautionary tale. A viral takedown. A reckoning. I didn't watch the whole video. Just enough to see her face collapse as she hit my final words. "I loved you enough to stay silent. Maybe too long." This is me finally speaking. I didn't smile. I didn't feel smug. Because it was never about revenge. It was about telling the truth. Even if that meant it had to crash a wedding just to be heard. 3 days later, it rained again. That slow, moody kind of drizzle that doesn't pour, it just lingers. Like a feeling you can't shake. I was in the kitchen making tea when I heard the knock. It wasn't urgent. It wasn't timid. It was hollow. Like someone who'd run out of things to lose. I opened the door. There she was, still in the dress. Her honeymoon dress. Mascara streaked down her cheeks, foundation worn off. No ring on her finger, and in her hand, the bracelet. The one we made during that blackout. The one I was supposed to wear at her wedding. The one she was supposed to wear at mine. The little charm dangled by a thread, the last piece of childhood hanging on by a whisper. She looked at me. For a long time, we said nothing. Her lips parted, then closed. Parted again. Then finally she spoke. "I knew," she said. "I knew what Derek did. Before we even got married." I held my breath, but didn't say a word. "I married him anyway," she went on, "because I didn't want to admit I was wrong. About him. About you. About everything." Her voice cracked at that last word. She gripped the bracelet tighter, like letting it go would undo the lie she'd been living. "I thought if I just ignored the past, it would stop mattering," she said. "But you didn't let me forget. You made sure I saw it. All of it." There was real pain in her eyes. Not the kind you put on for sympathy. The kind that hits when you finally look in the mirror and see the truth staring back. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't offer her a hug or some neat little phrase about forgiveness. I just said what I'd been holding in for years. "I wasn't trying to ruin your wedding. I was trying to give you your mirror back." Silence heavy. Honest, she looked down at the bracelet. I watched her fingers slowly loosen, until it fell. It hit the porch with a soft, dull clink and didn't move. She turned to go, paused at the first step. She didn't look back. Didn't ask for anything. Just said, "I don't think I know who I am without you." And then she left. An big exit. No pretty apology wrapped in ribbons. Just silence. The kind that says more than words ever could. I stood there a while, just listening to the rain tap against the roof, soft and steady. The truth, I didn't feel victorious, I didn't feel vindicated. But I did feel lighter. Some wounds don't bleed. They echo. And some battles? They don't end with fireworks. They end when one person finally stops pretending the other never existed. I wasn't at her wedding, but I'll always be in her memory. Right there, where the truth lives forever.